I was going to start this video on, I don't mean to brag, but I absolutely do mean to brag. I feel like I have nailed the working from home thing. My boyfriend and my family are probably going to watch this and think, you liar, but hear me out. I actually do think I've mastered it. My name's Eleanor, welcome to my channel. If you enjoy this content, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe and like this and stick around for more. I have been working at home for a few years now, obviously since the COVID pandemic. Like a lot of people, I was working from home all the time and now I've moved over to hybrid working. If you're not sure what hybrid working means, number one, where have you been? And number two, it basically means that you're a mix of working from home and going into a dedicated office space. I work in the book publishing industry currently and my office space is in Holborn in central London. My work from home space is at my parents' house in Kent. Now, I don't want to come on here and pretend to be like I'm some guru. I'm saying I've got it nailed, but bear with me. I'm just going to share with you some things that have actually worked for me, like genuinely worked, and I feel like I'm so comfortable working from home now. I think there's a difference between doing it for the aesthetic and waking up and drinking your like green smoothies and stuff. Like, I don't do that, and there are times that I wake up very close to my start time. There are also times that I don't stick to all these rules that I'm about to say, but 9 times out of 10, I stick to all of this. All of these things have become a really healthy habit for me and I just feel like I work so productively and happily from home. Right, the first one, let's say you're going to bed, fine. Admittedly, I go to bed quite late. I do. I don't get enough sleep, admittedly. So I'm not going to say, oh, get enough sleep, blah, blah, blah. You will or you won't. I'm not going to try and like change you otherwise. But waking up before I actually start work with a decent amount of time in the morning obviously makes a difference. Again, sometimes I leave it literally 15 minutes before I start work, but sometimes I will do a good hour. A couple of times I've done like a good couple of hours and I've gone for a dog walk, I've had my breakfast, I've made myself a drink, I've gone on social media to check what's new, blah, blah, blah. Just doing something that kind of like wakes you up a bit again. I've seen loads of stuff online in terms of wake up, down a pint of water and go for a run, blah, blah, blah. I'm being realistic, I'm not going to do that. I'm never going to be that person. But waking up with a decent amount of enough time to wake up before you start doing work obviously helps. The next thing is the fact that what time do you start work? If you can incorporate flexible working into your working life, it makes a huge difference. I am really lucky that I work at a company that encourages flexible working, which essentially means you can alter your hours depending on what works for you. This doesn't mean you have reduced hours, it simply means that if you start at 10 instead of 9, you can finish at 6:30 instead of 5:30. Equally, it means that if you have a 2-hour lunch break because of X, Y, and Z, you just have to make up that extra hour in the evening or in the morning. Or sometimes, depending on your company, you could do half an hour one day and half an hour the next to make it up. So you're still doing the same amount of hours, but you're doing it at times that suit your productivity. However, we do have core hours, which essentially is a block of hours where you're expected to at least be online and contactable. Obviously, if you're constantly working at 1 in the morning, you're never going to be available for meetings or to reply to emails. So if you can incorporate flexible working, I really encourage it. Ask your company to do it, or if they do allow it, make the most of it. Which leads on to my next point, lean into your productive hours. So if you are not a morning person and you need to start work at 10, do that and work later on. If you feel like you are most productive in the mornings, do all your hard nitty-gritty work in the mornings and then have a sluggish afternoon doing admin and answering emails. And vice versa if that works for you. Lean into what you find most productive. Do you have a dull after lunch? Do you need like a pick-me-up at 11 o'clock? Like whatever it is for you, I'm not going to say like there's a right and a wrong answer. Just understand when your most productive hours are and focus your work and your to-do list around that. This goes for office working and home working, but when you're home working, make sure that you are sat at your desk and you are ready to go when your most productive hours are. If you feel that you have a bit of a, say like a dip at like say 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. and you have flexible workings, go for a walk for 15 minutes and come back to get that energy back up again. So lean into your productive hours. So you sat down at your desk. One thing that I admittedly don't do enough of is drink enough water. And one of my goals for this year is to just drink more water, for God's sake. Like, I don't need to explain the benefits of it, we all know. Having water on the go has made such a difference for me. I have one of those big bottles, it's a litre with a straw. I feel like a child drinking from the straw the whole time, but it makes such a difference. If I'm watching something, if I'm on a call, I sit there with my bottle and it makes such a difference. When you're in an office space, you tend to have those breaks where someone goes, do you want a cup of tea, do you want a drink? Oh yeah, I'll come with you. And you don't have that break from your screen as much when you're working from home, in my experience anyway. So having that drink ready to go helps. Equally, if you feel that you need to get up and move, which is again so important, build that into your day as well. Give yourself that permission to stop, walk away from your desk, go to your kitchen and make yourself a drink. One thing that I forgot to mention as well is getting dressed, okay? You don't have to look your absolute best. You don't have to put on a full-on suit, depending on the company you work at, obviously. But if you are like most companies nowadays, you can tend to wear something smart casual when working from home. I had a call with my company's CEO the other day and I was in a hoodie. The call caught me off guard and I apologised, like not looking the most professional, and she said, hey, you're working from home, like that's what it's for. So it obviously helps when you have a company and a team that are really supportive of whatever works best for you. But one thing that has made a huge difference to me is not working in my pyjamas. I know that seems really sluggish and gross, but like I did, especially in lockdown, there were so many times I was just working in my pyjamas, or at least in just like sluggish clothes. But making the effort to get changed, I think, just does something mentally. I'm not going to act like I'm some scientist, but I think it does something mentally to basically say, I'm out of my sluggish way now, I'm getting on some appropriate clothing, ready for if anyone calls me, and I'm going to go into my work headspace. So you've worked for a few hours, now it's time for lunch. Leave the house at lunch. If you're in an office space like me, I purposely forget my lunch all the time. I don't tend to meal prep as much as I should, but this means I have an excuse and I have a reason that I have to leave the building because I need to go buy lunch because I'm hungry. What this does is it gets me out of the office and it makes me have my full hour lunch break. But admittedly, I'm not as good when it comes to working from home. I forget to take my full hour lunch break. So one thing that I have done for the past year or so is set an alarm, set an appointment in my diary for lunch, 1 till 2 or whatever time suits you, and I'll have my 1 hour booked in. This means I get an Outlook reminder 15 minutes before, 5 minutes before, and when it's actually time to have lunch. There's that reminder to just have my actual lunch break. I think it can become really easy when you're working from home to ignore that, to just carry on with what you're doing and not take a full lunch break. Myself included, I'm really guilty of it. So one thing that I'm trying to do more often is just leave the house. As if I would in the office, I'd leave the office building and go see the sights of London. I'm trying to leave the house. I have a dog who is literally walking in now as we speak. Hey! What perfect timing. Hey! And this means that he needs to walk every day, so I make sure that I go on my lunchtime. So you've come back to your desk. Let's have a look around. Let's have a look at our workspace. Having a dedicated workspace is hugely important, and I will shout about it until I turn blue as this top. I'm in a really privileged position and I know that, and I make sure to tell people that I know that I'm really lucky in the fact that I still live with my parents, which obviously has its own benefits, but my mum works from home full time, or most of the time. This means that she has in the house a dedicated work area with 2 desks. When I started working from home in lockdown, therefore, I had my own desk and it's always been the same since. Therefore, I have a dedicated workspace. Again, I am totally aware that if people live in a 1-bed flat that doesn't have that space, it is not going to be possible. But whatever that means to you, just having that dedicated space, just make sure you make it a priority. So if it's having a desk, if it's a fold-up desk and you have to get it out every morning, whatever it is, if it's having a mouse and a computer, keyboard at the ready, do that. And similarly to this, reduce the friction of getting started and being productive. So one thing for me is I always leave my laptop plugged in and on the desk ready for the next day. It's plugged in, it's ready, it's set up. So what this means is that I can walk into that study and I'm ready to go. I don't have to set anything up, I don't have to turn anything on, I don't have to get things out. Have it as ready as much as you can. And again, if we look around our desk, make sure you've got the gear. 9 times out of 10, you'll be able to ask your company for a second monitor. I encourage people to do this all the time. I have my laptop, I now have 2 monitors, so I have essentially 3 screens to work from. I'm sure there must be a study out there somewhere, but this increases productivity for me because I can see everything that I need to at one time. I reduce the time and the faff of switching tabs. It also doesn't hurt my eyes as much because I'm not squinting to look at a small laptop screen. So if you can and you're a company that has enough budget for it, ask and invest in your equipment. Speaking of equipment, another thing that I have is a footstool, and I find that hugely beneficial. It's something that I've had for years now. I don't use it every day necessarily, but I would say most days out of the week I do use it, whether it be to just put 1 foot on, 2 foot on, I sit cross-legged sometimes, whatever it is. That's another thing. When I'm sitting, make sure you have a comfy chair. I don't mean a plastic one, a cheap one. Try and invest, or if you don't have the money and the funds to do that, ask your company. Now, speaking of screens, get rid of that TV. I will hold my hands up. I'm really good. I do not work with the TV on. I cannot do it, and I don't understand people that can do it. I don't really watch TV much as a person anyway, but there are a lot of people that just watch TV in the background, and it's never just in the background. It will distract you so much. It will take away your focus. Essentially, I just feel like I don't need it half the time. If I do need some sort of background noise, I have very minimal radio or music in the background. Get rid of that TV. Similarly, don't sit on the sofa. I am at my desk. Again, you might think that my boyfriend and my family are going to come for me at this point. There are times that I've worked from the sofa, yes. If I'm, for example, on a training call all day and I'm just listening to something, I feel that I can just sit on a sofa and have the laptop in front of me. I don't feel like I need to be a place where I need to have my back straight or my keyboard at the right height, anything like that. So obviously there are some exceptions, but basically all the time you will find me at that desk. If people call me randomly, they're like, oh, you look so professional. No, I'm always at my desk. And one thing leading on to this is that I'm going to invest in really soon, so I'll let you know how it goes, is the treadmill. The walking treadmill, the under the desk, working from home, TikTok sensation. I fell into the trap. I was like, you know what? Let's see how it goes. So for context, I have a standing desk at the moment. I don't have, the actual desk doesn't stand and rise, it's a desk riser that goes on top of your static desk. This means that it's got a spring. If you want to sit down, you push it down with a button and you sit down. Similarly, you bring it up if you want to stand. I have loved this since I got it. I use it all the time, so much more than I thought. You don't get worn out like you might think, your legs don't ache like you might think, and honestly, I encourage anyone to look at getting a standing desk, especially if you have a desk-based corporate job where you are on a laptop most of the time. But I just thought, oh, let me take this one step further, let me try a treadmill. Now, surprisingly, they are more expensive than I thought. You're looking at a good few £100 for a treadmill. I don't want the ones with the bars or anything like that. This is a small, compact, slim one to go under your desk. Now, a lot of people's initial reactions is, oh my God, I couldn't do that. Oh my God, how are you gonna type? Oh my God, you're gonna make loads of mistakes. Oh my God, I can't concentrate. Yes, this is what I thought too, which is why I didn't want to spend hundreds at once and get it and realise that this doesn't work for me. So luckily, a family friend has one and I tried it out for the day. Mind blown, I am 100% gonna get one. I found that actually I was more productive using the treadmill because there must be some sort of like evidence base for this, but I felt that because I was moving, my heart was racing, I was like working quicker. You can change the speed of the treadmills and everything as well to suit you. One thing that I was really shocked at is I was expecting to type and make a lot of mistakes or lose my balance. Not at all. I think it really helps starting with a standing desk so you can kind of know where you are in relation to the desk and the keyboard as well. And walking, I did it honestly for about 3 hours without even realising that I was doing it. One thing I will say though is that avoid having any meetings at the same time because it made me a lot more worn out than I was expecting. I got hot bothered, had to have my water bottle on the go all the time. And speaking of exercise, we've done our day at work. One thing that's really helped me at the moment is changing my gym routine to go in the evenings. I used to be a morning person going before the day started, but I found that I didn't have enough time to let breakfast digest, I didn't have enough energy, and I was still waking up. At lunchtimes, I just feel like I don't have enough time and it doesn't suit me. In the evenings, it's an excuse to leave my desk. I am guilty, and I will hold my hands up at that, for overworking in the sense that, oh, I'll just do a bit more, I'll just do a bit more, and then not realising what the time it is into the evening. Especially when it's a crunch time and it's a busy time, I think we're all guilty of it. But changing my gym routine to be in the evening or whatever it is that you might do, gym, running, walking, exercise classes, whatever it may be, to be in the evening, it gives me a reason that I have to switch off. And my final tip for this video on working from home habits and being more productive at home in your desk-based job is not a deliberate, tangible thing, but it's more of a mental thing, and it's just to be open to change, be open to trying new habits. I've changed the way that I work in the last few years many times. As I said, I'm going to invest in a treadmill, which is something that I've not done before. I've changed the way that I work, and I think that that comes with any job. I think it comes with any person, and I think that just having that mindset of being open to not sticking to the same way that you've done things for years can really, really help. So if this did help you in any way, if you're going to try any of these things, I'd love to know. So please, please, please do let me know in the comment section down below. Whatever industry you work in, whatever job you work in, I want to hear from you. My name's Eleanor, and thank you so much for watching.